Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. Hi, my name is Rosalie Olmsted. I'm WESA's Strategic Partner Coordinator. It's a pleasure to have you all here today with WESA's strategic partner, Adobe. But before we get started and before I pass it over to Catalina, I'd like to give you a quick overview of the WESA's organization. We often go by our acronym, WESIS, because that is exactly what we are, a global cyber sisterhood. WESIS is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a mission to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. Our community is made up of over 11,000 members in 103 different countries. We have 72 professional affiliates and 314 student chapters around the world. We offer a range of initiatives and skills development programs for all career levels, including the Google Cybersecurity Certificate Program, our Stage Ready Public Speaking Fellowship, Vulnerability Disclosure Program, Create Your Leading Edge, and our Mentorship Program. We also additionally have all of our job postings from our WESA strategic partners on the Job Board Plus Plus. We owe all of our wonderful initiatives and programs to all of our strategic partners who fund us year round. Our tier one partners being 3M, Akamai, Amazon, Bloomberg, Cisco, Ford, Google, Lockheed Martin, Optum, Sandia National Labs, SANS Institute, and SentinelOne. Please feel free to ask any and all questions throughout the webinar today. You can type them in the question box below. Time permitting, Catalina will answer all of your questions at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. If she isn't able to answer them all during that time, please feel free to connect with her on LinkedIn afterwards. And lastly, if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the WESIS newsletter to stay up to date on all of our upcoming events and programs. You can find it at wesis.org in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Catalina with Adobe.
Thank you, Rosalie. I am very happy to be here today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to spend your next hour with me. Today, I will talk about building customer trust and why is this important to every organization. In the business world, trust is everything. 80% of our customers are buying products from companies that they trust. So without further ado, I will go straight to the agenda. I want you to tell you a bit about myself. So my agenda has two parts, I would say two chapters. First one is getting to know me, the opportunities and some challenges that I had along the way, and about the security enablement specialist role, which it was my first role in the cybersecurity field. Then on the second chapter, I will touch base on some different customer types, on tailored approaches in how to switch your focus on the customers. And I will conclude this webinar with some tips and tricks that I learned along the way. Okay. So the path to security. I want to give you a bit of an overview about myself. I am based in Bucharest, Romania. I am a mother of an 11-year-old boy. I am a wife, a sister, and a cybersecurity professional. I am very proud to say that. And I'm also a big supporter of all the women in cyber. And looking at this slide, you must wonder, how did I ended up in security? So when I was a child, I wanted to become a flight attendant, but my height didn't really help me. So I ended up being a security manager instead. You can see here that in 2011, I graduated in economics and business administration, and I had my first job in a multinational company at Accenture as an invoice clerk. Then in 2013, I earned my master's degree in communication and public relationships, following by joining Adobe in 2015, right after my maternity leave. My first job in Adobe was as a marketing budget specialist. I was basically handling financials for the marketing teams across EMEA in Adobe. Then in 2020, I transitioned into security. And fast forward to today, I currently lead the security enablement and customer audit team in EMEA. You must wonder, how did I ended up here? And going back to 5 years ago, my connection with the security field was actually based on proximity. I was sitting in a office space area near the security team, and I am a very friendly person. I got to know a few people in that team, and I from discussing one thing. From discussions, one thing led to another. So I ended up finding things about the security enablement team. And I realized that it would be something that I probably enjoy doing because it blended technical knowledge with communication skills. Things that I felt like I had at that time. So my Adobe network, comprised of security enthusiasts, I would say, suggested to start learning a few things about security if I want to join that team eventually. So my growing path, I would say, had a lot of opportunities, but also challenges. I start learning by myself the CompTIA Security Plus, and I was asking Google a lot of stuff because ChatGPT and Copilot were not available back then. I tried to learn about technical concepts, about security in general. And I even got a study coach. I was using the Life Dojo app. It was I don't want to do any marketing here, but it was an app that Adobe was offering as a benefit to its employees at that time. So I had a coach. He was a Spanish guy, and I had daily calls with him. And he basically helped me stay grounded and consistent in my learning. I really recommend that if you have the possibility. 10 out of 10 for me. Then eventually, after 6 months of self-learning, a job opened up in the security enablement team. So I applied, and because it was an internal movement, let's say I got the opportunity to benefit from the internal endorsements of my peers, of the people that I worked with before in my previous role. So the transition was smoothly at the beginning, but then I realized that I got the job now. Now what? I really need to start performing in this job. So I had the ultimate level of imposter syndrome. I was overthinking every day. How am I going to do this job? What if I'm not good enough? So let me tell you, it was a bumpy ride because it was hard at the beginning. I was reading through my emails, not understanding that much. I was constantly trying to learn new things. So what I feel that it's extremely important is to trust yourself and have faith that you can succeed in whatever you're trying to do, because I feel like sometimes we are standing in our own way, and it was like that for me. I mean, for a long time, I think for a couple of years, I didn't feel like I can actually switch my career or try to learn a new domain or new things. So if you have imposter syndrome, I think what would be good for you is to start switching the things that you're telling to yourself. From I can't do this, try to think of it with curiosity. How can this be done? Um, be curious and try to be open about your vulnerabilities. I mean, be open about not knowing things, ask questions. And one other thing that really helped me in surpassing, I would say, the imposter syndrome was actually trying to write things down, things that I have achieved. Because if you're going back and looking to those things, you will see that the progress is there, and the progress looks different for everybody. If you think you're not doing a great job there, try to think about the same time last year where you were then. So these are the tools that I use to overcome the imposter syndrome, and I hope it will also really help you. One other thing that I did was I don't know if it was any of my, I don't think I had anything to do with that. But because I was in Adobe, I was surrounded by a lot of smart people. So I tried to, emulate. I tried to learn as much as I could from them, watching their behavior. So I had really great role models around me. Okay. About the cybersecurity specialist role, um, I think it was the perfect starting point for me, because, as I mentioned before, it blends technical knowledge with skills that I already had, like communication skills and the ability to collaborate efficiently with different stakeholders, with different internal stakeholders, but also with external parties like customers, for example. So the security enablement specialist role was really a hub for a lot of teams across Adobe. So we collaborated a lot with the sales teams. We tried to respond to customer security concerns with clarity through different ways, like they were engaging with our sales teams, and the sales team were engaging with us through different ways, through security questionnaires, through customer calls, or even workshops, because security is now universally recognized as a top concern among our customers. So everybody wants to talk about it nowadays. So we supported the field, the sales team, sorry, with all security aspects when it comes to our customers' asks, let's say. So besides that, a security specialist also works with the legal teams whenever there is a need to negotiate a security clause in a specific contract. But the job is actually more than that. It's also about projects and objectives and trainings that we conducted for the sales teams. And I'm sure you can really tell why I really loved the job. I think I am at the end of my first chapter, let's say, of the presentation. And something that I really want to stick with you after this presentation is this quote from an basketball coach, John Wooden. Confidence comes from being prepared. And I really think that if regardless that if this is something applicable in sports, I think this is also applicable in a business scenario, in a business context. So just keep that in mind, and try to be prepared whenever you have a customer interaction. However, regardless of the common things that you can see for all the customers, for example, in security, everybody, I think the denominator is that everyone is expecting meaningful and personalized experiences when you are engaging with them. And they are also expecting that their data and their assets are treated with the utmost care and protection. But you also need to tailor the engagement model for different customer types, because one size doesn't fit all. So I try to split the customers in three buckets for the purpose of this presentation. And the first bucket is that for the potential customer. So these are not your customers yet. What you need to do with them is to start building that credibility, to highlight the security capabilities of your organization, and also to address early stage concerns. How can you do that? By providing information on what they are expecting to see, by providing documentation, industry accepted certification, why not? And also, again, highlight why you are special as a company, what are your superpowers. For the new customers, which is the second bucket, I think it is very important to support their onboarding path, I would say, because they recently signed, they now are in the implementation phase, and they have a lot of, I think, fears. It would be a good word here. And you need to reinforce that trust. I had a customer that was switching from an on-premise environment to a cloud service, and they were pretty uncomfortable in letting go of that control for their security of the product. So reinforce that trust. Make sure you are going through every level or every tier, let's say, of security controls that are available in your organization, so they can feel protected from an end-to-end uh, process perspective, let's say. And also make sure you are not forgetting about your strategic customers, your long-term customers that are there with you, that are signing renewals every other year, that trust your business, that maybe are expanding their contracts, and they are buying more from your company. So make sure you are listen to their feedback. And in Adobe, we actually have a way to funnel that feedback to our product teams for considerations. And also make sure you are proactive enough to address any industry changes, any industry new regulations, and you are doing proactive work in the benefit of your existing customers. Also, the collaboration is very important, so make sure you have collaboration channels where they can go and reach out to you whenever they have any issues. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that it's important for strategic customers to be proactive and to go ahead of the industry regulations. And I added a few industries here on this slide that are highly regulated industries that I believe you need to take into account when dealing with a customer. I think it is really important to understand the regulations for specific industries and how are these regulations affecting your customer needs and customers' expectations. The financial services I added here is a top tier regulated sector because it handles sensitive financial data, and it also has a higher risk of fraud and cybercrime. The healthcare, of course, you can imagine there are healthcare protected data there, and it's a very strict environment with a lot of regulation in that regard. The public sector also has an aspect of about the national security. It also provides public safety. So I believe it is also an essential service that you need to take into consideration. But there are also other industries that are somewhat regulated by some regulators that you need to take into consideration. And moving to this slide, I try to put together a few regulations that are currently in effect across the globe. I believe that a company, if it takes this regulation into consideration, can have actually a big impact with among the customers. This law, actually, did you know that there are over 160 jurisdictions that now have privacy or data protection laws? Most of them are having the same basic concepts as the base of their framework. So, for example, data minimization, consent, breach notification, or cross-border transfer regulations. But there are different and pose, let's say, different risks and different approaches from ourselves and from our companies. So how do you actually prepare for a customer call? I think I will go into a little bit of math with you. So based on the trusted advisory book, there is a component in the trustworthiness equation that has something to do with self-orientation. Are you a self-oriented person or company, or are you customer-oriented? So I will just go to this equation that you have here on the slide. What You can see that it has 4 components: credibility, reliability, intimacy, and self-orientation. The model was initially created for interpersonal relationships, but I think it can be easily be transposed to institutional trustworthiness or to organizational trust. Uh, so this is basic math. I don't want to go too deep into this equation because it's not my field, okay? But I want you to keep in mind that the fastest way to destroy your trust is to focus solely on oneself. So this self-orientation is very important. And going back to my previous slide, you need to focus on customer needs first. I believe Adobe is doing, from an Adobe perspective, I think we're doing pretty good in the credibility and reliability part because we have a lot of information out there. We are being transparent with our customers. But I think where we can really make the difference is on these 2 aspects, intimacy and self-orientation, because we can, I think, transpose this approach towards our customers through our customer calls or customer interactions. So how can you make sure you are switching this focus from yourself or from your company to the customers? And I think you can actually start by asking yourself some questions. And I split them in 2 categories: before a customer call or during a customer call. And before the customer call, try to ask yourself, what is the agenda? Start by clearly defining the purpose of the call. Use a structure, and you can actually use the help of the sales representative, which was the main point of contact for engaging with the customer that required the call, and try to ask for guidance from him. What is the customer looking to get from that interaction? What are their concerns? Okay, then ask yourself, what does the customer know so far? So you need to leverage the insights from previous engagements, if there were any, because you might be on your second call with that customer. So this helps avoid redundancy and shows attentiveness. So make sure you are asking yourself that question. Also, how can you leverage your experience? You've been in several calls, or if you never been in a customer call and it's your first call, it will be trickier, I'm not gonna lie. But if you had some experience, use that experience to prepare, because if you prepare for that call, it cannot be that bad, right? So leverage that experience. For example, let's say a customer is very interested in your testing approaches. Is your company does your company have security testing, not penetration testing, an external penetration test, or does the company have other ways to test their products? If you know that that will be the main topic, make sure you are preparing yourself to answer any questions about the findings, the vulnerabilities, the timelines, the status of those vulnerabilities. So make sure you do your due diligence. Then another question would be who you need to collaborate with, because we don't know everything. And for that, we have experts in the field. We have experts in the product teams. And let's say a customer would like to go very deep into an architectural diagram. Make sure you are getting the right people into that call, the experts, someone that can really explain the customer the exact topic that they want to hear. And then during the customer call, there are some other questions that you can leverage to ease the interaction. You can actually ask the customer and maybe make it about themselves. What are their use case? Because different solutions can be used in different ways based on their use case. Ask them what are the concerns in case you're talking about a change. And I mentioned before that that change from an on-prem environment to a non-cloud solution. So make sure you are addressing that question to them, so you can understand what are their main concerns, so you can best address them. And then how can you best tell your story? Focus on what is unique about the company that you are working on. What is your company doing better than other companies? What are the differentiators? So try to steer the discussion in that direction if it comes to a particular topic that you're actually pretty confident in, because it will allow you to put a positive light on your company during that customer call. And don't forget to ask open ended questions, because this is showing to your customer that you're actually listening, regardless of what are the items on your agenda. Okay. Um, Empathy is also something that I really think it is important in the business environment, regardless of our objectives or our goals, I would say. Um, I think it also is related somehow with that trustworthiness equation and the components there. I think it has something to do with intimacy. So try to put yourself in the customer's shoes. What is the customer really looking to get from the interaction with you or from your company? What are they seeking? What are their main concerns? And I put here on this slide some actually techniques that would help you use that empathy as a security skill. Try to breathe, take a moment to breathe before any call, because on the other side of the screen, if you're having an online interaction, or on the other side of the table, if it's in-person meeting, it's another person. It's not just a big fancy name or a big company. It's another person that is trying to represent the best they can the company's interests. So we're all human. It shouldn't be that hard. And try to connect with that person on a personal level, maybe. Be clear, because now you have a few tools that I presented in my previous slide with those questions that you can ask yourself. Try ask yourself those questions and then be clear in your interaction with the customer, because those questions will help you get some clarity about what they are looking to get from that interaction. And then you can go and use those information that you gathered yourself in actual present clear what you have to say. Also be transparent, especially when there are no updates. For example, if a customer was waiting on a response from you, but you don't have actually any update, be transparent with that. Let them know what you are doing at the moment, and let them know when they will hear from you next. And also be honest. Customer respect honesty more than vague responses. So if your company is not able to provide a specific security control that they are very keen to have, or let's say if you as an individual, as an employee, don't know the answer of a question, it's better to say that, go back and try to do more due diligence, try to do more research, and then come back with an honest answer. And also keep in mind that the cultural nuances are very important, because you need to be aware that people across the globe have different values, and we need to respect that. And I actually recently had a customer call with a French customer. They wanted to have the call in French, and needless to say, my French is as far as a 200-day strike on Duolingo can take you. I mean, I was barely understanding what they were saying, but the customer insisted to having the call in French. So my colleague from the sales team had, I mean, he was French as well, so he had the conversation with the customer. And he only asked me when he needed my input in English. I was responding in English, and then they continued the conversation in French. What I did in that situation, I could have easily got frustrated, right? Because it was, I mean, it was really hard to stay in that call not knowing what they are discussing. But I stayed calm. I waited for the sales guy to ask my input when he needed it, and then I provided the answers. And the call was actually very good. The customer was happy in the end, so everything was good in the end. But just keep in mind that there are some situations when the cultural nuances are very important. But how about when nothing goes as planned? Because sometimes it happens that you go into a call with no agenda, you have no time to prepare, and your partner or your expert cannot join the call. You also have language barrier, let's say, and you also have a very demanding customer on the other side of the line. It's I don't know if there is a possibility to check all these boxes, but things can happen, business can happen, changes can happen, and you might ended up being in a customer call with no agenda and no time to prepare, let's say. I think what would be best here is to focus on the story you want to tell. Focus on again on the strengths of your organization. Try to move the discussion in that direction, and if it's not possible, transform the call in a discovery call, just to make sure you understand what the customer is looking for, and regardless of the urgency, try to propose a new time for a follow-up discussion where you are more prepared. Okay. I mean, I think we're almost at the end of this presentation, but I put together some tips and tricks, I would say, that I learned along the way in my many customer calls that I have. So always follow up. This builds reliability. If you promise something in a call that you will get back to them with a revised answer, or if you will go back to them with, I don't know, a document, a certification, make sure you follow up, because if you don't, then the trust can be easily affected, I would say, or anyway, broken. Ask for feedback and don't assume. Um, Try to understand if the outcome of the meeting is what the customer desired, or if they are expecting something else. Again, you can easily propose another follow-up discussion. Be transparent about limitations and don't overpromise, because sometimes the priorities on a product roadmap might change, and even if you know that you will have that security control that they are looking for in a few months, don't promise that, because the priorities might change. Things might change, I don't know, business might change, and you might not have what you promised to that customer. So don't do that. Try to avoid that. Also know your audience, because it's so important when you don't have technical people in the audience, that you know, that you are aware that you're talking maybe with a procurement person, or if you have the CISO in the meeting, make sure you also know that. And it can happen that you don't know beforehand who from the customer side will join a call. My suggestion is to start with a round of introduction. You can start, you can present your role, and then the others will follow your example. And this way, you will know who you are dealing with. And use storytelling to explain complex topics, especially if you know that your audience is not that technical and they might not get some of the security concepts that you're trying to present there. Okay. I think we are at the end. I think, and I hope that this presentation helped you understand how to build trust with your customer. And I know that customer facing space, and especially in security, can be very demanding and sometimes scary, but it is also very rewarding, especially when you are um, uh, helping and signing a big deal for your company. So I really wish you the very best of luck in your future interaction with your customers. And if you have any questions for me, I hope I will be able to answer them.
Thank you, Catalina. It has been a pleasure listening to the presentation. I think it's super important to know how to communicate with individuals at different skill sets and understanding levels. So thank you for covering that on that topic. We have some questions, so I'm going to dive right in. One viewer said, they said good afternoon. They were very polite. They felt very seen and heard throughout your presentation, that it was something very easy to understand. They enjoyed hearing about the imposter syndrome. I think that's something a lot of us go through. And interesting, the previous Adobe webinar we did a few weeks ago, the presenter, Annie, talked about how 70% in their lives will experience imposter syndrome. So I feel like that number I'm never going to be able to forget. 70%. Absolutely insane. But their question is, sometimes they feel like they don't belong into these highly talented people-filled teams. Did you ever feel like that?
Of course, I often feel like that. I still feel like that, and especially now with my new role as a manager. But you know, what I'm trying to do is learn from my experiences and from my interactions with those
Mm.
people that are way more talented or way more smarter than I am. So I'm actually trying to, you know, take it in and do whatever I can with the experience that I have.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I think it's a little intimidating when you're entering a room with people that are very technical and clearly know what they're talking about. So it's feeling confident and like you know something too. You might not know everything, but you know something. And what you know is enough. Uh,
Yes.
what strategies have you found that work better for customers who are not as security savvy and can be more resistant to security controls?
Hmm. Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, I think so. In my experience, we're mostly presenting software as a service solution. So these are off the shelf, basically, no major um, improvements can be done by a customer or the other way around. I mean, from Adobe to be imposed by a customer. I mean, the service is as it is. You want to buy it or not. So it's simple as that. And I think the what you can do here is try to address the benefits that specific security control implemented at the right time can have for that particular customer. So I think emphasizing the benefits in line with of course their use case and their industry.
Yeah. Amazing. This next individual, they would love it if you could re-say the name of the book you mentioned, and can you share the title and author? Because we can even throw it in as an announcement to the viewers as well,
Yes,
or
I
leave that slide
uh,
up, even better.
you have here the source. It's The Trusted Advisor, a book by David Meister, Charles Green, and Robert Gayford. So
I'm going to add it to the just so everyone can also grab it. Viewers, I'm going to throw it in to the announcement as well. Trusted advisor name. Make sure I don't spell anybody's name wrong. Perfect. You also see it as a display as well at the bottom. Thank you for throwing that back up on the screen, Catalina. Next question is one, they said thank you for amazing presentation. There's actually two questions in this one. How do you keep yourself updated with the latest cybersecurity knowledge and trends? Is there any specific resources or journals that you read to do so?
well, we have a lot of resources in Adobe. We have security blogs in Adobe. We're trying to have a lot of presentation inside the broader organization, where mm, things that are new in the industry are being presented. But I also I'm listening to a few podcasts. I don't remember the name, but I can try to find it and put it in the chat for you, so you can have it, and you can, I don't know. I think I feel like I searched enough cybersecurity topics on my Google, because now I get on my main page of Google all the news for cybersecurity. So I don't specifically follow something or a particular page, but I do receive a lot of notifications from what's new in the industry.
I feel like I get the same notifications. My whole main page is just what's new and going on in cyber because I'm in it every day. But yes, if you can find any of those links, we can throw them in. If not, it might be one of those situations where give Catalina a little bit and she can answer that question on LinkedIn, because that would also be great. Now, this was a two-part question. So the second part is, how do you strive to find a balance between your personal life and your professional life with your hobbies? Because I think that's always, I know I struggle with that at times.
Yeah, I think it is very important to love what you're doing. I think so. You
Mm.
will not feel that pressure of having that balance constantly. It's not always a balance. I'm not gonna lie. There are days where I'm working too much, and there are days when I'm not feeling that good, let's say, and I'm focusing more on my family, for example, on my boy, and I spend more time there. But I think it is in the end a balance, and Adobe is doing a great job in giving us the flexibility that we need to try to be present, both in our family interactions and at work. But yeah, it's not always, I don't know, perfect. It's not a
Ah,
perfect balance, but I really like what I'm doing, so I think that's very helpful.
yeah. So what would you say is your favorite aspect of what you do on the day to day?
Mm. Now that I switched to the management
Yeah.
side, I would say that of course, I always loved the interaction with people. So I still get to do that because I have
Yeah.
one-on-one discussions with my team, and of course, I have different stakeholders. So I really like discussing with people on different topics. And what I like is actually seeing results. So I'm driven by the results. I also
Mm.
like. The, let's say, praises at the end. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I love the appreciation that we sometimes get from being um, present 100% at work whenever is needed.
Yeah. I think we all appreciate recognition for the hard work we do on the day to day. So
Yeah.
I know I'm in the same boat. Um, this is a little bit of just mindful. Please feel free to connect with Catalina on LinkedIn. We had a couple questions about that, so I just wanted to give everyone that reminder. Feel free to continue any conversation with her that way. Next one is, they're facing difficulty convincing stakeholders in the company to implement security controls. Do you have any advice on how this person can deal with that?
Wow.
'Cause that's a tough one. I know, tough one.
Yeah, so I think what you need to do is find out who is the decision maker and try to
Mm,
leverage your connection maybe on the lower side, because probably the decision maker would be someone in the leadership, right?
yeah,
So try to leverage the people that you have a better relationship from around yourself, that might have a good impact with that person that is responsible for making the decision. So I think working your way at the top, I would say, by connecting with people, actually with people that have some influence. So I think this is something that I would probably do. I would try to get to that the decision maker, and make a pitch for whatever I want to do.
Yeah. This is a similar question. So if you feel like you already answered this, let me know. But how would you handle situations where the customer doesn't trust your answers or challenges your credibility?
I think, especially in Adobe, we have a lot of documentation that we can show as
Mm,
evidences. We have internal policies that we not normally show, but if it comes to evidences for some security controls, we always can go back to that and
yeah.
do like a screen share session with the customer and provide some evidences about some security controls. If it goes deeper than that, we have a different team. It's the audit team that handles such requests, especially for regulated industry, those regulated industries, because they have different requirements to conduct audits on the providers that they are using. So I would say that there are two different approaches here. You can try to leverage the documentation that you have or the external audits if there are any in your company, or if not, try to, uh, m- switch the focus on other teams like the audit teams that are responsible for providing additional evidences.
Yeah, like that. And what advice would you give to someone who is transitioning in facing role without a technical background?
Well, I did that. So from my experience, try to, stay up to date. Try to understand whenever you are in a conversation with someone, and let's say a topic that is not familiar to you, it comes up. Um, don't let it like that. I mean, after the conversation, maybe you go and look it up and try to understand more about that topic, because I think it's so important. And for me, it has so much more sense now when I'm talking with different stakeholders, when I understand the things that I'm talking about. So I think this is something really important when you identify something that it's not there yet for you. You're not familiar with that particular topic. Maybe go and spend a few minutes to try to understand more.
Yeah, and would you say there was any specific resource or certification that you took advantage of that really helped get you to this point?
So I mentioned before the CompTIA Security Plus. I think it's
Mhm.
a very good start for, I mean, learning a lot of information about basic security concepts and basic security, I would say, areas, because the security is very broad, and you
Yes.
can you can see all the areas that might be at some point of interest from your customers. So yeah.
Yeah. And this one we did cover a bit, but is there anything else you'd like to add in about tailoring your message when speaking to non-technical stakeholders about something very complex within the security world?
Um, I wanted to say to tell you this story actually in my
Okay.
presentation, but it switched from my plate. So I wanted to give you this example. Um, I at some point I was interacting with someone in Adobe, with a person from sales, I think, and he
Mhm.
wanted to explain to me, and it was actually the other way around. So I didn't explain to a non-technical customer something, but he was actually explaining to me why this customer is looking to enable VPN. So he did like an analogy for me, and he was very cute in that. So he said that, Catalina, you imagine that you're visiting a bank and you want to withdraw $1 million in cash, and the bank provides you with a tunnel that will lead you back to your apartment very safely, in with that private tunnel created down the underground space, especially for you. So it is a very safe way between the bank and your apartment. And this is basically the most way to return with your money. So and then imagine that you can return to your apartment wearing an invisible hat, but there are risks that someone will put some dust on your, or on your invisible hat, and then people around you might be able to see you. So that is basically TLS, HTTPS transport layer. So he did that comparison, that when I tried to say that, we have transport layer security, and he said, oh, but there is a safer way, so let me explain you that. So it was really nice. It stuck with me. But there are other examples. I mean, you don't have to create a whole story about it, but like, I don't know, explaining some basic concepts like authentication, for example, is like
Yeah.
trying to go into a bar, and the people at the entrance is asking for your ID. I mean,
Yeah.
he needs to check that you're 21 in the US, and you are able to drink, to have a drink. So yeah, something like that. I mean, you can do all sorts of analogies for security concepts.
I really enjoyed that bank analogy. That was not one I had thought of, but I think it's absolutely crucial because some people, we all take in information so differently. And I think it's sometimes when we're talking about something more complicated or more complex, you can just watch people's eyes glaze over and they're struggling to follow if it's not their background.
Yeah.
And being able to bring it in a way where it's like everyone goes to the, well, we don't go to the bank that much anymore, but we used to all go to the bank, but like situations that anybody can find something to relate to. So that's, I enjoyed that uh visualization because I can completely picture that in my mind. um but yeah. Next question is, do you have any suggestions for someone like beginner, brand new into cyber? Very like, what would be a great platform or tools that they should get into for to begin that learning journey? Because I think for a lot of people, it is cyber, there's so many ways to get into it. I mean, coming from technical, non-technical backgrounds. And were there any specific tools that you think would be great for our viewers to go into and research a little bit and to start diving into for their beginning into cyber?
I mean, there are a lot of resources, but it will also depend on the area that you're trying to get into. Let's say if
True.
you want application security, there are specific trainings in Udemy, or again, try to leverage the info. I don't know if you can find specific courses on LinkedIn Learning, if you have access to that.
Mm,
There are a
mhm.
lot of resources there. And actually, YouTube is still a good free resource that you can leverage all the time when you have questions about cybersecurity, because it actually provides free content from experts that might be good to go through. But feel free
Yeah.
to write me on LinkedIn, and I can pass down some resources that I used before.
Yeah. And I mean, what's great, Bright Talk has, there's so many webinars you can pull from as well. I know WeSys as an organization, we do a fair amount where it's people like Catalina who are, the experts in the industry sharing not just what they're experts on, but also how they got in. So you can hear a lot of resources in that capacity as well. So I encourage that. And ooh, what I enjoy this question. What is one of the most exciting trends you foresee in incoming students?
Oh,
I know this one's a little different than what we've been talking about.
um, okay. So in incoming students, to transition into cybersecurity, or I'm not sure if I understand the question, or jobs that they would like to have, or
You know
fields
what?
that.
How about if the viewer, if you could just elaborate that question a little bit more, and Catalina will gladly expand on it, if just so she can have a little bit more context to what you're wanting information on.
I try to take a stab on it, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I have an intern in my team, so he's still a student. Um, and I don't know. I really like how I mean he doesn't feel afraid of anything. When I proposed to him something, he said, "Yeah, I will go and research it." It's like
Hmm,
something, because he has an internship project now, and we're
yeah.
talking about different things. And whenever I propose something to him, he said, "Yeah, yeah, give me a few days. I will try to research it." So I think the people that the next generation is more open to not knowing and to explore. I don't know, different fields maybe,
Yeah.
because nowadays you have all the means in the world to do that.
Oh, we do. We have everything at our fingertips, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no, and this is a very generalization, but do you think with these incoming students mixed with your, intern, it sounds like they're very open to just constantly be learning
Yeah.
and always open. I feel like I come back to this often. It's a quote that my grandfather instilled in me when I graduated college. He was like, "Okay, Rosalie, you now have the license to learn." So that's how I've approached everything. I'm like, "Yeah, you got a degree or whatever certifications you have." I actually graduated with a certification, and that's what he told me. And I'm like, "So you know nothing. You don't know nothing, but there's always more to learn."
Yeah, completely.
Um, Oh, here we go. So the question is they wanted to know if there are some unique qualities that they have or subcategories that they seem to be leaning towards. So it seems like that
Mm.
openness and willingness to learn might be one of the big ones.
Yeah, I think I can speak from my experience, because I interviewed some very young people for this
Mm,
internship position. And what struck me actually was that they were all very, very, very well prepared. So I was thinking
mhm.
about me at 22 years old. Oh my God. I mean,
Mm-mm.
no, we don't want to think about that. So
No.
I was actually very impressed with the level of knowledge that they have. Um, so I think, I don't know if it's because they were applying to Adobe, or this is how all the people in young generation, I would say, are nowadays. But I'm also looking at my son, so he knows way more things that I knew at his age. So I think the new generation is very, um, I don't know, developed in some ways and underdeveloped in other ways, I would say. Because I don't know. I think it's a totally different generation. I'm not saying it's a bad
It
thing.
is.
I'm actually saying that they know more things that we knew at their age.
It's these generations coming up with technology always there. And I
Yeah,
think we're going to see a very big shift in how that looks. Because, I mean, I can remember when the internet, started and that
yeah.
shift. We have time for one last question. So I'm going to ask it because unfortunately we are getting close to time. But the question is, how do you track the latest cyber attacks?
Oh, I mean, we have a specialized team for that, and
Yeah.
we are collaborating with a lot of uh, organization in the industry,
Yeah.
to get the latest information out there. So we have threat detection engineers that are basically doing exactly that, to understand the
Yep.
landscape, the cyber attack landscape, and to understand how they can better protect Adobe from these cyber threats. So I think it's uh, conglomeration, or I don't know. It's a uh, it's a collection of resources that Adobe is using, and it's not my team that is doing that. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, this our cyber threat analysis are crucial all over. We need them fiercely. Do you use, I mean, just out of do you use anything outside of what Adobe has, like for your own personal? Is there any way you track it outside of work? And if not, totally okay.
Mm, so it's like it comes my way, because we have all
Yeah.
Slack, all the Slack channels. We are
Oh
sharing
yeah.
information between us. I mean, if there is any zero-day vulnerability, be sure that our team will know about it, because one of my most technical colleague probably is subscribed to, some channel, some dark web channels that
Oh yeah.
you can find information about. Uh, I would not say that I'm doing a great job in researching things myself, just because, work life balance. But I'm somehow learning about them through my colleagues.
Amazing. Well, Catalina, I want to say thank you. Thank you, especially because I know being in Romania, this is a later time zone for you and anyone else joining us where it is, later in your day. Thank you for joining us. I hope everyone has a great rest of your morning, afternoon, day, and I look forward to connecting with you again. Catalina, thank you again for joining us today, sharing how to communicate with the customers and how to communicate with individuals that are on a different level technically than us. And I hope everyone, again, has a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Have a good day.